are again, Michael Riedel, Ralph Romeo,
Hey,
with
Ralph.
you. We're going to throw it around. How are you, Mike?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
It's funny I called you Mike for the first time. What do everybody calls you Michael. Nobody calls you Mike.
My parents and you call me Mike.
It's the first time.
It is, absolutely. Let's not make it a habit.
Okay, just don't call me Ralphie.
No,
Ralphie.
no, that's not going to work.
I
That's
feel
not
like
going
Ralph Cramden, the honeymooners.
to
Well. The first thing out of the box, in my view, we have Curtis Sliwa, who is being coerced by every means necessary to get out of this race. Get out of this race. He's going to gum up the works. If we just had Cuomo, we just had Mamdani facing off against each other, we'd have a sure Cuomo victory. I don't buy it. Do you buy it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think despite Mayor Eric Adams' embrace of Cuomo now, it's not going to help him. And I think if Curtis dropped out of the race, I think there's such antagonism towards Cuomo. I mean, he's reviled by so many people now that I don't think Curtis's supporters, and I include myself as one of them, are going to vote for Cuomo. I certainly can't vote for Cuomo. I'm not going to vote for Mamdani. I will vote for Curtis. But if Curtis were to drop out, I think I would write in me. I guess that's what I would do. But I can't bring myself to vote for Cuomo. I don't think it's going to help him one bit. And I just think that we're going to have the socialist mayor, the socialist experiment, which is what New Yorkers seem to want. So we'll see
Yeah,
how.
they get what they deserve.
That's right.
That's my view on that. You want to vote for this clown, you get what you got to suffer.
That's right. Yeah, you just see what those buses look like when they're all free, and you try to get on there, and there are homeless people sleeping all over the buses, which is probably what's going to happen. I mean, Cuomo did make a good point. He said this free bus thing has been tried in other cities and it proved to be a disaster. So it'll happen here, but New Yorkers seem to want a city to unravel. Like I think a lot of New Yorkers feel they would rather live in a city that is affordable to them than a city that is safe. They're willing to put up with crime. They're willing to put up with chaos. They're willing to put up with garbage in the streets so long as they can have their rent stabilized or their rent frozen.
Well, I had my friend out there as an on action or on scene reporter, and I had my YouTube thing going, and he's approaching people. He's very brave man. Ray Johnson, thank you. He's approaching people, Michael, and about I would say about 25 people thereabouts. Every single one. Guess what candidate they were so enthusiastic about? The guy we can't stand.
Mom
They love
Donnie.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
they do.
now one person said otherwise.
Listen, I mean, there's a strain in this country, and certainly in a progressive liberal city like New York, that they don't really understand the history of socialism. They don't seem to know that it paved the way for Stalin, that it paved the way for utter chaos in the 1960s and 70s in this city, because they probably are too young to know that, or they're just ignorant. And to them, socialism just as a theory sounds great. I mean, Ralph, wouldn't you like to be subsidized for everything that you want to do in your life? I
Yeah,
mean,
of course. Why not? Why? I don't have to get out of bed. I could just stay in bed.
no. And if you want to be an actor, well, the government should give you a paycheck so that you can be an actor. They should fund your theater down there in Florida so you can put on the plays that you want to put on. You should be allowed to do whatever you want to do in your life, and somebody else should pay for it. That sounds very inviting to me.
Just think about this. You don't have to hurdle the turnstiles anymore. You can just, you don't have to pay everything for free. But again, now Curtis is saying he's getting death threats. He's getting with his wife Nancy. They're so hell bent on getting him out and by any means necessary, and it's just terrible what he's going through. I actually felt for him because he said, "How's a guy who said he's going to stay in no matter what? How is he going to ever live with himself or ever come out anymore with anything that anybody would deem to be honest if he now drops out?" I would think that would be hypocritical.
Yeah, it's not in Curtis's nature to quit. He's not a quitter. And even though his boss, John Catsimatidis at WABC, has endorsed Cuomo and told him to get out of the race,
See?
Curtis is gonna ignore his boss's request. It's pretty funny.
They turned on him like Benedict Arnold. They were terrible. Every single host down to Sid Rosenberg, your former rival, and he actually came out actually and said he should quit. after being prompted and prompted by the guy that owns the station.
I mean, look, Sid will do what Katsimatidis tells him to do. It's as simple as that, you know. So Katsimatidis wants Sid to knife Curtis in the back. Sid will knife Curtis in the back. Believe me, Sid has no compunction about that. Trust me.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, how does this thing pan out? Do you think it's a landslide?
Yeah, I think it's a comfortable win for Mamdani, and then we'll have to watch just what Kathy Hochul does, because as you know, so much of what he wants to do is dependent on the governor agreeing to it, and a lot of stuff I don't think she's going to agree to. But she's cast her lot with him, and she is going to be running in a primary soon and for election. She needs the left wing on her side. So she's going to have to concede some things to him. She's going to have to give him a few things that his base, which is far left, wants. So we will have some form of the socialist experiment here. He can do damage, I think, especially with the police. And it's clear to me he's lying when he says now that he respects the police. I think the true Mamdani is the one who said that the police are racist and corrupt and horrible and awful, and he can rein them in. Although we saw what happened when De Blasio tried to do that. The police have an amazing way of really upending um, a mayor. They almost did it to De Blasio. Remember when De Blasio went to the funeral of a cop who was killed, and all the
Yeah.
cops turned their back on him? What did De
Yeah.
Blasio do? He desperately begged Bill Bratton to come back to be police commissioner to try to smooth things over with the police department. I mean, as Bratton has told me, the easiest thing in the world for a cop to do, a cop who's unhappy, a cop who does not feel that the mayor has his back, is to not do anything. A cop's not going to get in trouble by just sitting in his car. A cop gets in trouble when he tries to stop a crime and then somebody accuses him of racism or takes a video of him trying to get a perpetrator or a suspect, and then they edit the video and they make it look like police brutality, and then all of a sudden the cop is facing all of these issues and these problems. Doesn't have that issue if he just stays in his car.
Mm. Yeah. It's just now. Would you say you're upper middle class?
When I had a job, I was. I'm rapidly
You're
sliding.
standing. You're standing. Went down there, huh?
Yeah, the slide is happening since iHeart whacked our show. But I don't know. I mean, check in with me next week, and I'll be totally for Mamdani, because I'm going to need all those freebies that he's given out.
What I'm getting at is that, is it going to affect your lifestyle, whether it's Cuomo, whether it's Curtis, or whether it's this guy? I mean, is it really going to affect you in the village there?
Not overnight, I would think. There's always the quality of life in the city. The subways get sleazy, and you feel unsafe, as we felt coming out of COVID. The city really felt sketchy, is a good way to put
Mm,
it. I thought for at least a couple of years coming out of COVID, this under De Blasio, the city really did feel sketchy. I
yeah.
thought, especially when he was turning over
Hmm.
hotels to the illegal migrant communities, and you had the migrants in the streets in the middle of the night on a summer with their little kids playing in the middle of 8th Avenue. There was a whole kind of chaotic feel to the city for a good 2 years under De Blasio after COVID. And I can see under Mondami, when he doesn't enforce things, when he doesn't believe in quality of life in the city, because he thinks that leads to police brutality, it slips, it slides. And I think you're a New Yorker, Ralph. You can feel it. You can feel when the city just seems a little off, a little unsafe. That's how it will affect those of us who live here in the West Village.
When you travel, you feel that you said it. You have there's a certain feel that's there. You can't put your finger on it, but it doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
Yet they'll come back. They'll come back, Michael, and they'll tell you that statistics, murder is down, robbery is down. These telltale signs are down, but yet you feel something different, don't you?
you do. And listen, I think that the left has been very good. The left recognizes that crime is a real weakness for them, because let's face it, they are soft on crime. So they have managed to mangle and twist and turn all kind of statistics to try to convince people that they're safer than they feel. And they compare things to, well, look, compared to 30, 40 years ago, wow, it's much better off. Well, how many people were around here 40 years ago? Not that many. You feel what you feel at this particular time. And there's no question in my mind that the city seemed safer and more robust under Giuliani and Bloomberg than it did under de Blasio. Now, a lot of that is de Blasio's fault, but a lot of that has to do with COVID. But for a long time, the left blamed everything on COVID. But coming out of COVID, de Blasio, it seems to me, did very little to try to tamp down our fears about a city that was sliding away, because it goes against everything that the progressives believe in, which is law and order. They don't want they don't like the police. They don't like to see police out there. They simply don't. And they fundamentally believe they have a sympathy for criminals because they hate the capitalist system, and they think criminals are a product of awful capitalism. Criminals do what they do because the capitalist system doesn't work for them. So in some ways, the criminals have a right to be criminals.
Yeah, yeah. Who are we to take away their God-given right to rob people or to hurt people or to
Well,
throw people in front of trains like they like to do?
right. That was happening all the time here. People getting pushed in front of trains. Then you'd hear the pinkos over at National Public Radio saying, "Well, they reluctantly have to report on subway crime, but immediately they say, but crime is down. I mean, 30 years ago was much worse. 40 years ago was much worse. It's way down. So don't be fooled by the right wing New York Post, into saying that the subway crime is terrible. And then the next day, somebody gets pushed in front of a train. Somebody gets
Yeah.
clocked on a subway platform.
Yet I still see these idiots, Michael. They stand on the lip of the platform with their earbuds in, oblivious to what's going on around them. They'll stand there like they're among friends,
Yeah.
and you got these little creeps running around pushing people. I always say that to my wife. I said, "Be careful. Always watch left and right. You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. And you know, this is different. This is a whole different ball game. New York City. We always had that edge. We always had that aura that something could happen around any corner. But I don't think it's ever come back since COVID. I think it's changed drastically since COVID.
Yes, it's gotten a little bit better. I was very, very concerned coming out of COVID because through much of COVID, I was living down in Florida, doing the show from Florida. So I really was not aware of what was going on in the city, and I was shocked when I got back to New York full time and riding my bike to work early mornings as I did to do the morning radio show. And I just was really appalled at the number of homeless people, mentally deranged people who were all over the bike path on the way to work, all over Times Square when I was riding around at 5:30, quarter of 6 in the morning. I had not seen that in a long, long time in New York City. And it seemed to me there was just real chaos. There were homeless camps along the West Side Highway where I am in the West Village, and people
Mm.
just sleeping and living out there. And the other thing too, and I always think this is a sign of a city in chaos: rats everywhere. I mean, when I
Oh,
got back from Florida after COVID, there were rats all over the place. And I saw them because I was up so early in the morning. I mean, rats all along the bike paths, rats all over Times Square. It was really pretty sleazy and disgusting. And I remember my studio was right next to City Center, and there were homeless people sleeping in front of the beautiful city center,
yeah.
for at least a year and a half. And I would complain on the air, and the Times Square Alliance got in touch with me, and I would ask them, what are you doing? And they would contact City Center, and the City Center people didn't care. They were like, you know what? They're gone by the time our patrons come to see the ballet at 7:30 at night. And then they come after the shows are over with, and we don't really want to upset them. They need a place to sleep. If they're going to sleep on our stairs, that's okay.
Yeah. Isn't it something how the dynamic is such where you have like the most ritzy neighborhood, but yet you have the rich folks stepping over the homeless people that are just strewn about on the ground.
Right.
And that it's just a strange. I don't think that any other city has that to the extent that New York City has that. Where on Park Avenue you could find the homeless. Where I my studio is downtown Wall Street, very relatively wealthy. You could find homeless. I had one guy that I used to see every single time they get their spots and they stay in that spot. And I knew where to find this certain guy. And I tried to help him. Tried to help him. He actually had a cell phone. He used to call my show from the street, in the little tent that he had there, but yet
Right.
he had some amenities. He had a cell phone. He used to call me. Tragically, the guy passed away, but I just remember how the homeless can be anywhere in New York City. I always found that very strange.
Yeah, yeah. Giuliani and Bratton back in the 90s, they did something about the homeless issue because you certainly noticed a decrease in homeless people. To this day, I have no idea where they all went, to be honest with you.
Yeah, where'd they go?
I don't know. But the city did seem safer. The issue with the homeless well, it's no surprise to you, it is complicated. A lot of it has to do with mental health and mental issues. And, while I'm a libertarian, I do think that some people who have these severe mental problems, they need to be in places where people can care for them. But we had this law that says you can't really put people into asylums without their agreement or without somebody in their families saying that they need to be committed there. But a lot of these people don't have families, and I just think it's crueler to allow people to fester on their own in a cardboard box than it is to try to help them by putting them into an institution and trying to get them off drugs or at least get them on medication that can give them a clearer head to face the world.
Hey, if they're going to say that they're going to hurt somebody, if they're going to scream and yell, and they're a threat, you can't have them among the people that are relatively sane. We're not that sane, but we're still not going to kill somebody. We're not going to do harm to somebody.
Correct.
I can't have those people among us and feel safe. That's when I think you have to intervene.
Yeah, well, that's why I was appalled that that loathsome Alvin Bragg went after Daniel Penny on the subway when you had the clearly mentally deranged guy who was threatening people. He was
Yeah.
threatening people on the subway, and Daniel Penny, the ex-Marine, pinned him, and unfortunately led to the death of this homeless man. But the progressives, the liberals, wanted to paint Daniel Penny as the bad guy, and they kept saying, "Oh, this wonderful kid, he was a great Michael Jackson impersonator," and they just glide over the fact that he was physically threatening people on the subway. He was a menace to people on the subway. But it fit their narrative better to a white ex-Marine killed him. And because we know he's probably a MAGA supporter if he's a white guy and a Marine. So we have to go after him.
I've sat there where some strange things are happening in the subway. Guy break dancing in front of me over here, another guy screaming and yelling over here. Nothing really terrible ever happened, but I've been in some precarious situations where
Right.
I could have used a Daniel Penny because frankly, to approach one of these guys, they all have knives.
Yep. Yep.
Right? If they pull out a knife, I'm dead.
Yep.
So you can't blame people for sitting on their hands just watching these people do their business and not intervening because it's frightening.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they're volatile. So you just don't know. If you get up and leave, if you make eye contact with them, they might then target you or something. It's unnerving, and no New Yorker should be exposed to it.
We are so New York centric. We are just a couple of elitists here in New York, but and now and but I'm wondering the sports scandal right down your alley. The sport, but then I know you heard about this.
Yeah.
The sports scandal, the NBA in particular, the scandal is immense. And of
Oh, yeah.
course, the mafia is involved, and we have two major players in the NBA, one coach for the Portland Blazers and the other player for I don't know what team, but very prominent figures. This thing has been going on forever.
Mhm.
Now they're just putting the clamps on it. But people are saying that because of Trump and because of the FBI geared toward what Trump wants to do, they're actually coming down on these people for the first time because Trump wants them to. Trump said, "You go get them now." What do you think of this whole thing?
Uh, well, I don't think, what's the line from Casablanca? There's gambling going on in here. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. There's gambling. There's always been gambling. There always will be gambling. And certainly, it's become more prevalent than ever now that there's so many forms of legalized gambling. But if these people are duping people, as clearly they are, then I applaud the Trump administration for going after them. I do think, though, trying to stamp out shadiness in gambling is an impossible task. Where there's
It's
gambling,
true.
Ralph, there's going to be shadiness. There's no question about it. Somebody's going to try
That's
to
true.
rig the system one way or the other. That's just human nature.
Michael, I'm listening to the sports station, right? And during the course of time, they're talking about this whole thing. And about four or five ads run for gambling.
Right.
They live on gambling. The
Yeah,
sports world lives on gambling.
absolutely.
It's so hypocritical. And then I get on the air with this one guy and I talk to him and he says, "Well, that has nothing to do. We could gamble, we could promote gambling to a certain extent, but if this is beyond the pale." I said, "Well, if your whole sports or your whole sport is relying on the fact that people are watching these games because they're in for the money and they're gambling on it." I mean, this is all part of the game. My father was a big gambler, by the way, Michael, big time gambler. He
Mhm.
wasn't happy if he didn't have any action. He was very, he had to go get some action. Whether he won or lost, it didn't matter as long as he was gambling. So I witnessed it firsthand what this disease is. It's
Yeah,
like crack coke. It's like crack cocaine. It's like anything else. It is a terrible addiction. It's so easy to get on one of these, Michael,
yeah.
and just make all the bets you want to make, and that's it. I mean, because they legalized and made it so accessible, I think they really made it even more prevalent than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to feel that way about the legalization of marijuana. I think I think pot is a gateway drug to other drugs, and certainly you can tell that in some cities a kind of sketchiness follows the legalization of drugs. I remember being in Denver right after they legalized marijuana, and you could really feel in the streets the shops that were selling marijuana. They were full of sketchy people just kind of hanging out there buying their marijuana. And the legalization of gambling is going to lead to addictions for more people, I think. And I've never had that experience with gambling addiction, but I have friends whose lives have been ruined by it. I mean, they lose all their money. I had one friend, successful Broadway producer. He was completely addicted to gambling to the point where you'd walk down the street with him, and if you saw a cockroach, he'd make a quick bet, $100, it goes right. I mean, he just couldn't help himself.
I know the
Couldn't help
type.
himself. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll bet on anything.
Anything, anything.
If I ever won, I don't bet, but if I ever won anything, I'd run away so fast, Michael, thinking they're going to take it away from me. If I won a good bundle of money, I would hightail it out of there. But the real gambler just wants more. They want more. They want more. It's
I mean,
unbelievable.
the saddest sight I one of the saddest sights I've seen in life. I happened to be in Las Vegas, and I was staying at Caesar's Palace, I think. And I'm not a gambler. But I thought, well, I'm here. I might as well walk through the casino. Which, of course, when you're in Las Vegas, you can't help but walk through the casino because they
Right.
get out so that you can't find the exit to the hotel. You're trapped in the casino.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, you have no idea what time of day it is because there's no daylight anywhere. It looks like midnight everywhere in the casino. But you saw these people who, clearly are not people of means, probably with their social security check in front of the slot machines with these
Yep.
glassy look in their eyes and just pulling the machine, waiting for the grapefruit to pop up. And first of all, I don't understand the intellectual excitement of that. I guess maybe if you're playing cards, I can understand there's
Yeah. Yeah.
intellectual game going on there, and bluffing and all that kind of stuff. But just to have those glassy eyes and just putting coins in the slot machine again and again and keep pulling the lever, hoping to win it. It really looked like a dope fiend who was just getting his next hit with the pull of the lever.
And you're so right. A game of cards is a whole different story. There's
Yeah.
a little skill involved, there's a
Yeah.
little
Strategy.
gamesmanship involved, but if
Yeah.
you're sitting there mindlessly pulling this thing for hours on end, and, Cindy says she used to work in a casino, my wife, and she saw the worst of it, let me tell you,
Oh,
these people spending their whole paycheck all in one night.
all in one night. Absolutely. I mean, there goes the kid's college tuition. Gone. All in one
Mhm.
night. Gone. Just like that.
That's for sure. I remember
So,
the comedian, Norm Macdonald talking about his gambling exploits, and he said he actually blew his whole life savings all in one night, and
really?
he had to start from scratch,
Wow.
and that's just a prime example. It's terrible, but this thing now the Super Bowl coming up in a short time, it'll be here before you know it. The biggest game around, an event around. I mean, the country loves the Super Bowl. Uh,
Sure.
can we know that this game is on the up and up? Can we be sure that all the dollars that are going in legitimately? I mean, how do we know that the biggest entity in sports is on the up and up?
We don't. We have no idea. We have no idea. And listen, wherever there's going to be gambling, there's going to be the mafia. All right. Where there's prostitution, there's the mafia. Where there's gambling, there's the mafia. And where there's drugs, there's the mafia. That's how the mafia makes its money, on those three things, really. So, um, anyway, I feel sorry for anyone who gets caught up into this morass of gambling. And as your wife knows better than anyone else, you're never going to beat the casino, right? The deck
Never.
is totally stacked against you on that front.
Well, the buses would pull in, and you see all the old folks getting off, all their Social Security checks down the drain. That's just the way it happened. And
Yep.
my father, my father was a great guy. And by the way, when I say that about my father being a big time gambler, I'm just telling the truth. He was. But he was a
Right.
great guy in all other aspects, but that was his weakness, if you want to call it that. They used to call it a weakness back then. Now they call it a disease. If we ever said to my father back in the old days, "You have a disease, Dad. We have to take care of your disease," he'd think I was a little bit nuts, but they call it a disease now, you
Did
know?
it have a detrimental effect on your family, on your
I'll tell you how it went. We had everything we need, necessities, food, shelter, all those good things. My
Right.
father was a great guy, but we never had the extras. We could have gone on vacations, maybe. We could have done more elaborate things, maybe, but we weren't able to do that because this part of the income was set aside for gambling, and this part was set aside for necessities.
Right. Right. How did your mother react to it?
My mother, who was the exact opposite, never gambled, never did anything. She would say to me, "Well, your father is a gambler, but at least he doesn't drink because the guy down the street's an alcoholic, and that's even worse." And the
Right.
other, I've seen drug addicts too, and that's even far worse than any kind of gambling could ever be.
Right.
So that's the way, it was the lesser of the evils, I guess.
Yeah, that's I've seen addiction work that way. Alcoholics will say, "Well, oh yeah, sure, I drink a little too much, but I don't do drugs." So the
Right.
fact that I don't do drugs justifies the fact that I can drink, 4 bottles of white wine during the day.
No, hey, an addiction is an addiction. You can name anything. Hey, you know what's an addiction? I just held it up before. This right here, the phone.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
People are on it 24/7. And
yep.
I'm past the note here, Michael. There was a drug addict that would come into my wife's casino with just a long shirt, mid thigh, and flip flops, nothing underneath. And now that I found that incredible. I believe her because I know she's telling the truth. And he would just sit there for hours on this thing, and it was an everyday thing.
That's how he lived his life. I mean, it is it's pathetic, as you say. Addiction is a terrible, terrible thing. And I agree with the phones, man. I don't get it. I see people on a date. There's a bar down the street from me here, and it's one of those places where people are doing online dating. You can tell the girls
Yeah.
in marketing, the guys probably in finance.
Oh
They
yeah.
like, and they're sitting there in the bar, and are they talking to each other? No, they're both looking at their phones. I mean, I
What good
wasn't.
is it? What good is it? I mean,
Well,
people go on vacations, Michael. They go to the hotel on an exotic vacation, and the most of the time, not looking at the beautiful scenery, they're just on the phones.
yeah, yeah. But the other thing too, they do. I always find this amusing. You go somewhere and you want to take in the beauty of your vacation, or you go
Yeah.
to a great concert and you want to just enjoy the person performing and watching it. Everybody wants to take pictures or videotape it. So
Oh yeah.
they're watching everything through their phone. They're not just watching it through their eyes, and
Yes.
letting it just experiencing the moment. They're watching the entire concert with their phone up in the air like this.
Yeah, we're a little deranged. And I say we because I have my own things, but it happens not to be that. And George Carlin said it best. What his exact words I'd have to think about, but he said something like, we just don't even. Can't we just sit back and just look at things these days?" And those were the days of the camcorders.
Yeah, yeah.
This putz has a camcorder. This one has a camcorder. Can't we just sit back and look at things and remember them?
I know, I know. And I swear to God, you have your phone is full. It's absolutely full of pictures because people are taking pictures of every aspect of your life. How often are you going back to look at pictures from 4 or 5 years ago?
You
Really?
don't. You
You
don't
don't.
really.
No, you don't. But there
You
they
know.
are. I don't know.
But they're there, and you have hundreds in that phone.
Hundreds.
maybe thousands. And some people are really at it. They're always taking pictures.
Oh my gosh, I had a friend, he lost, he had pictures of something happened with his phone or his computer, and he didn't have the backup. I thought he was having a psychotic meltdown that he'd lost
Yeah,
some pictures from a trip he'd taken 5 years ago. And I said, "Take it easy. I mean, you have the one thing that's more important than everything else, which is your memory of the trip. All right, so you lost the photos. Well, you're always gonna have the memory of the trip unless you get Alzheimer's, then you won't have a memory of anything. But, it's not the end of the world. You can just close your eyes and imagine and remember how great the trip was." But
I know. We can't do that anymore. And I say again, some people know how to have a good time, and they know how to put the stupid phone down. I've seen the boy and the girl, the parents, four of them sitting in a restaurant, supposedly out for their night, to talk about their day or whatever they do at restaurants. And the father has the phone, the mother has the phone, the two children have their own phone. Not one word said during the 2-hour dinner, and that's it.
It's laughable now that I think about it. One of the big one of the big battles in my house when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s in upstate New York was my sister wanted a phone in her room, a
That
landline.
was a big deal. That
Oh
was a
my
big deal.
parents said, "Absolutely not. We're not if we give you the phone in your room, you'll never come out of your room. You'll be on the phone with your friends all the time." It was a huge roaring fight in the house of when you could get a phone in your room.
Was your sister older or younger than you?
Younger, 2 years younger.
Younger,
Yeah,
younger. Did
yeah.
you have a transistor radio?
Sure,
Were you one of
absolutely.
those kids that had that under the covers and the transistor?
Not really. You know what I had a stereo with a radio on it, and,
Oh, okay.
I listened
Okay.
to the radio, but I loved the radio as a kid. I listened to, E.G. Marshall's CBS Radio Mystery Theater I think it was Sunday or Friday nights at 9:30 or something like that. I listened to that a lot and, absolutely loved, Casey Kasem's Countdown on the weekends, countdown of the top hits. So you'd be trying to figure out where your favorite song of the week was going to be in the countdown. Was it going to be
Oh,
7?
yeah.
Was it going to be 4? Was it going to move up? Was it going to go down? Who knew? I loved all that stuff. It was great. Yep.
What kind of music growing up?
A lot of, I would say, middle of the road pop music, adult contemporary stuff. I was not a big rock and roller. I liked America, Ventura Highway, mellow stuff
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm a stoner Ralph, so I loved all the I loved all the stoner music. But
Really?
yeah, no, I'm kidding. I liked my favorite singer is Dionne Warwick. I love Dionne Warwick, and I liked those Clive Davis produced albums of hers in the 80s, the early late 70s and early 80s. Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, I liked. Yeah, I'm just sort of, you could call it marshmallowy pop. I have to confess, I have a soft spot. And I have a soft spot for great movie theme songs of the 70s and 80s. Things like Nobody Does It Better from The Spy Who Loved Me
Oh,
or
yeah.
Arthur's Theme from the movie Arthur. I loved all those. Christopher Cross, all that kind of stuff. That was the music I liked.
Oh, Christopher Cross.
Not exactly
And
edgy. Not edgy.
you just said a stoner, and I bought it. I should know better, because you're like me, a lightweight. It's more like it,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I used to like the concept rock. I used to
Mhm.
like the Cat Stevens and the Jethro Tulls and the Van Morrisons. I like all those guys. A big concert that you've gone to that's very memorable. Do you have one?
Uh, let's see. Uh, I remember going to see, well, the two contrasting ones. I went to see the first time Dionne Warwick. I think we went to Syracuse to see her, and it was a very straightforward, elegant show. Right? There's no bells and whistles with Dionne. She's
Yep.
just a very elegant woman. She's got the orchestra. She comes out. I don't even think she had backup singers. She just 2 hours, no intermission. She could hold the stage, sing all the great Bacharach David songs, the hits that she was having at the time. I'll never love this way again. No night so long. Very little patter, very straightforward, simple, elegant. And then you contrast that with Diana Ross, who had this big, lavish, over the top show with, huge fur coats on, very garish. Good. I mean, Diana Ross is a great singer and all that kind of stuff. But remember people would have their lighters back then. Now they have the phones, but
Oh,
it would
yeah.
be lighters. People hold the lighter, reach out and touch, and all like this. But I do remember distinctly when I was a kid going with my grandmother, and I must have been 7 or 8 years old. I mean, just a kid. My grandmother, as most grandmothers did back then, she adored Liberace, adored
Mm.
Liberace.
Oh yeah.
And we went to see Liberace at Melody Fair, the tent back then in Buffalo, New York. And he came out with a silver fox fur coat with this long train that took up the whole part of the whole stage,
Hmm.
actually. And I have very little memory of him playing the piano. I just remember some of the patter, which was brilliant patter. And I remember he would go down into the audience and he had all these rings on. And he'd say, would you like to look at my ring? Would you like, and he'd go to the women, these old, like my grandmother, gray-haired ladies.
Hmm.
Would you like to see my rings? Would you like to touch my rings? You should. You paid for them.
That's good.
Yeah.
He's so right. So right. He's right. Uh, about him, he never came out, nor did he have to, but he never came out. And all the housewives in America, before my time, a little bit. I mean, I didn't watch the program. I was too young. But all the housewives in America, hopelessly in love with Liberace,
Totally.
this very effeminate guy who you knew. I mean, if you had any kind of gaydar or radar, whatever you want to call it, you knew that he was, on the other team. But God, it just didn't translate that way back then.
No, my grandmother had no clue. I mean, she had no gator at all. Zero, zero, zero. They thought he was so handsome and elegant. They didn't
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
realize.
Oh, I gotta ask you because I forgot the
Yeah,
Broadway strike.
yeah.
What's happening with that? What have you heard?
It's been averted. The musicians and the actors were making noise. I never thought there'd be a strike. The business is too fragile right now for anyone to have a strike. None of the actors wanted to strike. The musicians didn't want to strike. Don't forget, Ralph, they were all out of work for 3 years during COVID.
It's
So
true.
nobody
It's true.
wants to give up an income. I mean, they lost 3 years of an income. And the producers know that the business is very, very fragile. They're not selling tickets at the prices they once were. A strike would have just been more negative publicity to Broadway, one more reason for people not to go to see a Broadway show. The problem that a strike has is, unless you follow it closely, all the headlines tell you, oh, Broadway shut down. So people just think, well, Broadway shut down. I'm not going to make any plans to see a Broadway show. So that just kills you. And then when it reopens, yeah, it's one story, Broadway's reopened. But if you still are under the impression, not paying attention, that Broadway shut down, you've already made your plans to come to New York and you haven't bought a theater ticket.
Mm.
So a strike is bad for everybody. And I knew there wouldn't be a strike. I just knew it. So
What's the best night to go see a play? Is it the Wednesday matinee? Is it the Friday evening? What is the best time to see a top-notch play?
well, if you want good seats, probably on a Tuesday night is a good
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Matinees you should be a little bit careful with because sometimes the cast members will phone out sick or something like that on a matinee, and you want to see the original cast of a show. Um, Matinees can be dropped by actors from time to time. I've discovered. So yeah, Tuesday evening's good, and also they have the early ticket curtain times on a Tuesday, so you're not out till 11 o'clock. You can go see something at 7 o'clock.
Who
So
was a
yeah,
big star? Who was a big star, Michael, that you were dreadfully disappointed in when you saw his performance or her performance on Broadway?
right. I think one of the worst I ever saw because she was so charismatic in the movies, but she was a zero. She was a total cipher on stage. Was Julia Roberts in 3 Days of Rain. It was a big
Mhm.
deal when she came to Broadway. She was the biggest star on the planet back then, and she sold out this rather dreary play, 3 Days of Rain. And she just walked out, and from the moment she walked out on stage, you realized that beauty and charisma that she had in the movies did not translate to the stage. She looked like a limp dish rag on the stage. She had two actors surrounding her who were good, and I remember I had to do an interview with her, and she insisted I interview her with these two actors. She didn't want to do the interview by herself. She wanted the two actors with her. And I said, okay, fine. Nobody cares who these two actors are. Nobody had ever heard of them before, but I'll play along. She was the most boring interview on the planet. I mean, deadly dull. She said absolutely nothing. She gave me about 20 minutes in a booth at Bar Centrale. And then her handlers came over and said, oh, we have to go now. And she was gone. So it was just me and the two guys. And of course, we had a few drinks. And they turned out to be lots of fun and interesting. And we all got along well. And they were funny and good to talk to. One was Paul Rudd and the other was Bradley Cooper. They were
Oh,
they were total unknowns then, complete unknowns.
isn't that something?
Yeah,
Wow.
no one had heard of any of them. I'd never heard of them.
I had the actor Alex Hyde White. Have you heard
Mm,
the name?
I have, yeah, yeah.
I had him on my show yesterday. I had Mike Farrell from
Oh
MASH.
yeah, 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 yeah. Good actor.
Very, very to the left of I don't know who because he's a very liberal guy, but very, very a tremendous guy. Were you a big MASH fan?
It was it was a little too adult for me when it was on. I mean, I didn't quite know all the parallels with the Vietnam War. I've since seen it, and it's a terrific show, no question about it. Brilliantly written by somebody who later became a friend of mine. Um, uh, um, God, what's his name?
Larry Gelbart.
Larry Gelbart. Larry Gelbart. Yeah, who wrote Tootsie. Larry
Hmm.
was great. Larry had the best line about an actor I've ever heard. He hated Dustin Hoffman on Tootsie. Somebody asked him, "What's it like to work with Dustin Hoffman?" He said, "Never work with an Oscar winner who's shorter than the statue."
It's a good rule of thumb.
It is. But yeah, MASH is terrific. I watch it when it pops up on my TV or these places that run old shows from my childhood. I watch it, but it was not. It was a little, I don't know, maybe a little unsophisticated for it. The show that I remember that had the biggest impression on me in terms of drama, where I realized
Mhm.
that television can be very good. Good television at its best is as good as any play, and that was Saint Elsewhere, the hospital drama.
I love that show. One of my
Great,
favorite.
great show. I mean, wonderful characters, really very edgy situations. They dealt with things like AIDS at the
Yeah.
time when nobody wanted to mention AIDS on TV. They dealt with all of those abortion, all the hot button issues of the day. But great cast too, tremendous cast.
Well, I think of the show. I think of that show with Denzel Washington. That was his start.
Hmm.
Also, all these great. What was his name? Oh my goodness, I can't think. But and this other show that I always enjoyed. Going for you're. I'm older than you are. Family. You remember
Yeah,
Family?
I do. I do. Again, it was a very adult show, very dramatic show. It dealt with.
Very
I think
much.
I remember Family had an issue had one episode I think I remember seeing as a kid and not really understanding it, but it seemed very controversial that one of the guys in the family, his best friend, a male, turned out to be gay, and they were dealing with homosexuality in the
Yes,
70s or something like that, which was a taboo subject for certainly for television.
that was Seda Thompson. That was James Broderick.
Yeah,
Christy McNichol.
right.
Then
Yeah,
I remember seeing Robert Reed, Brady Bunch father,
right.
in an episode where he played a transvestite.
Oh,
It was a medical center with Chad Everett.
Chad. Yeah, sure. Chad Everett. Yeah,
You remember
medical.
the show?
I do vaguely medical center.
There's this one show, Michael. It's worth going on YouTube to see it because it's extraordinary. For 1975, maybe. He comes out in full drag in the dress, and he's living a double life.
Hmm.
And you see Robert Reed, the guy you knew from the Brady Bunch, who was a good actor, by the way.
He was, yeah.
Far too good for the Brady Bunch, if you could say that. But he was he came. I never forgot that. I was a little too young to really comprehend everything with that, but it was just incredible. I don't know why I thought of that, but I thought of that.
Well, I think it's interesting about Robert Reed. What I know of him, I think he resented being on the Brady Bunch because he thought he was
Oh yeah,
raised,
he did.
and he was, and apparently, if you read, or I think I interviewed one of the Brady kids once, and they said he was really nasty to them, that he really felt he was slumming it on the show, and he just hated the scripts, he hated the whole setup, but of course he did it for the money. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, he died of AIDS, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He was at odds with the writers on the Brady Bunch, but all those kids, I had a different experience. All those kids, I who did I have? Christopher Knight,
Oh
Peter.
yeah. Hmm.
He said we all adored the guy. We loved
Oh,
the guy. We knew he was in the closet, but we loved the guy. But he
right.
just wasn't comfortable with. He thought the show was going to be groundbreaking and maybe tackle subjects that they never even thought to tackle on the Brady Bunch. So he was very disappointed in that aspect of the show.
Well, who presented it to him as it was going to be something like Family? I mean, you just read the scripts of the Brady Bunch. It was the dopey show that people still love to this day.
Oh, they do.
It was
They
not,
do.
the show was not written by Eugene O'Neill. I got news for you, Robert Reed.
He comes up in every podcast, Eugene. He made an impression on you. I could see that. All those long plays of his, boy,
Well,
they're
listen,
fantastic.
if you want to do unhappy family plays, just look to Eugene O'Neill, Robert Reed, Eustace
Let's talk
Collins.
about alcohol. Everybody's an alcoholic in every
Everybody's
play.
an alcoholic. Everybody's
That's
an
for sure.
alcoholic. Totally,
Like they
completely.
say in Shakespeare, everybody dies. Well, everybody in Eugene's plays are alcoholics.
Hey, before we
Well,
run, what do you make,
yeah.
Ralph, of Trump's remaking the White House, tearing down the East Wing?
Well, another guy can build a bowling alley. That's okay.
Yeah.
The other person, what did Barack Obama do? I think he paved over a swimming pool to make a tennis court. That was okay. But now, Trump's getting flack. What do you think?
Well, listen, Trump does everything a little bigger than everybody else. So, Barack Obama paves over a swimming pool, puts in a tennis court. Donald Trump tears down half the White House to put in a ballroom. That's just the way he
Did
goes.
he do it that big? Is it that big a deal?
Well, it's the whole East Wing that I think he
Oh my goodness, I wasn't aware.
has been taken down. Next, I'm told from good sources he doesn't like the dome on top of the Capitol. So the next thing is he's going to remove the dome from the Capitol. He wants he wants a flat roof on the Capitol, so the dome
I
is
was going to say, is it going to be an open air,
pretty
like
much.
like a stadium with no dome? Oh
Um,
my goodness.
but look, there is this I did not know, and I do find it amusing that apparently when you have a big dinner at the White House to seat 600 people, which they do have to put up tents on the lawn.
Right,
And of
right.
course, as you know, if you've got an indoor seating and then the outdoor seating in the tent, anybody who has a table outdoors in the tent feels that they've been slighted. That
Yes,
they're the B list. The tent is always the B room. Okay, if you're
that's it.
inside, that's the A room. So I do understand the need for the White House to have a ballroom that can accommodate more people than the current one can. So it doesn't really bother me. But I love everything Trump does. It doesn't matter what he does. Everything he does reeks of fascism. So you read all of these architectural critics in the New York Times and other places. His design for the ballroom makes it look like he's never going to leave the White House. This is Mussolini. This is Hitler. His architect is Albert Speer. This design for the ballroom should tell us he has no plans to ever leave the White House. He's going for a third term. We can tell. They read into everything, every single thing he does. Fascism, authoritarianism. He's
I
Hitler.
know.
It's hilarious.
Mussolini. Hey, you
Yeah.
mentioned Mussolini. My grandmother, she adored Mussolini. She would say, nobody starve under Mussolini. Everybody eat under Mussolini. She loved Mussolini. Whenever Mussolini is named, I think of my grandmother who lived to a 99 years and 364 days. She
Well,
was one day short of 100.
it pays to
And
be a
this
fascist. Pays to be a
and I,
fascist.
That's right. And I know you got to go exercise, but my grandmother, who was upset 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at her wits' end, she was the most. She screamed and yelled. She lived 99, almost 100 years. So you go figure.
Well, I don't know. I like that Mussolini. Nobody starved under Mussolini. It's
Like,
probably
all the time, she would actually say that to me. No, hey, you don't say nothing bad about Mussolini. Nobody starved under Mussolini. She'd
Did
say.
you ever ask her, Grandma, why did the Italians hang him upside down in the gas station
I was
at
going to
the
say
end?
in the town square, you could be found hanging upside down,
With
Grandma.
a
I don't care. I don't care. He was great. He was great.
World War II. Did she have any opinion on that?
I don't know, but my father ended up in Italy for 4 years during World War II.
Oh, really?
So he knew firsthand. Never came back with any post-traumatic stress. Just came back and resumed his life. Those guys were tough.
They were. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, they were. Although, the best, really, I think the best movie about that, war must have taken its toll on them in some ways, but they just didn't show it. I think the best movie about that is the Best Years of Our Lives. I think it's William Wyler, the movie where,
Great movie.
yeah, is it who's the actor in it? Frederick March, and
Yes.
he's the bank president. He comes back and he resumes his life, but you can see that he drinks more than he did before. That he's slowly sliding into alcoholism because clearly he's seen some horrible things that he's trying to deaden the memory of. It's very subtly done. Beautiful movie.
Well, my father gambled. That was his thing.
Could
But he
be
did that before. But he did that before he went into the army. So
right.
you know. My
Right.
father, and I'll let you go, but my father got his draft notice in 1941 while playing a football game at Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson, New Jersey. They actually came on the field halftime, gave about four or five of the players their draft notice, and off he went to Italy.
Wow. Did he fight in any of the battles? Did he
He
see
was
combat?
right there on the, not the famous ones that you would know, but he was right there on the front line. And he came back with one war story telling me that he stood around four of his cronies. An air raid came, it killed the four. He remained intact. And that was the only story that he ever told me.
Wow. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
many others that he may have not wanted to relive.
Yeah. He's gone a long time. 1987, he passed away. I think about him every day. I really
Okay.
do.
Very good. Good.
Have
Well,
yourself have yourself a good workout. Now, are you telling me you're going to be gone for 2 weeks without this wonderful program?
no, I'll do it from Florida. I'm going to be in
Oh,
Florida, so
great.
we'll both do it in Florida.
Oh, great, great, great. Okay, well, have a ball, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, Ralph. Say my best to your wife.
I will.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. She says goodbye. Bye.